Well, guys, it's Friday. I was invited on a bike ride tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. Now, that is normally a problem because I have to open up at 9, and these trails are about 45 minutes from here. But my wife insisted, since it's been so long since I've been on a ride, that she'd open up the shop for me and I should enjoy myself. So, thank you very much. I do appreciate that, sweetie. So, there's going to be about 4 or 5 or 6 people that are going to be showing up on this ride, and every one of them has a 29er. Well, this is just supposed to be a recreational ride. It's not going to be anything, major. So I thought it was a perfect opportunity to ride something different, especially since Zeke is actually going to be on this ride, and he's riding the exact same bike that I've got, same color and everything. So I decided to grab something a little bit different, especially since this is just a recreational ride. We're going to be doing 10 miles or less. It's just going to be a fun ride. So I decided to go next door and grab this 1999-ish Klein Mantra. This is a very unique bike. It's got a unified rear swing arm with a high pivot. Now, this bike doesn't have a very good reputation because I've heard that these are kind of funky. I don't know the exact thing about it because you really don't see very many of these. Now, they did sell a lot of them, and this is a very unique bike, and I'm excited to give it a try. I've never taken one of these on an actual mountain trail, but what we've got here is we've got a Manitou SX fork that's oil dampened. I serviced that fork about 1.5 years ago, so it should be still fine. It's got 5.3 inches of travel in the back. The front, I think we're lucky if we got 4 inches of travel. I did make some changes to it. The stem that was on this was incredibly long. Keep in mind, this is a 90s bike, so I went with a shorter stem, and I did put some riser bars on there because I really didn't want to be in a super aggressive, racy position. I like to play around. I like to jump a little bit. Plus, also, I like to be comfortable. So I wanted to shorten the cockpit area here so I can enjoy the ride. So this is going to be the first time that I'm actually taking this on a mountain trail, so I'm really excited about this. I really wanted to kind of see how this thing handles. So why don't you join me and let's go for a bike ride. Let's go. had to bring the knife. Video. The trail changes too quickly, too often to leave it on time lapse. Well, stop pedaling. Oh, here, wait. Stop pedaling. Well, you are going faster. Yeah. I wish I had a quick release on this thing. I need to raise my seat. No. Seat's too low. Oh, it doesn't matter. How are you doing? I've never gone this direction. It's always been to the left. What's that? Yeah.
Sunday, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Dude, the suspension on this thing is so freaking smooth. This is the first time I've ever actually ridden this thing on a trail, I think. Yeah. I've only ridden it on a greenway. Guys, it's the next day and I am still pumped about that ride. It was a shorter ride. We only did about 7 miles, but that's because some of us have not been riding in a little while. So it was a nice leisurely, fun ride. We all had fun. I mean, we were talking, we were laughing. Uh, we really weren't working that hard, but it was an absolutely gorgeous day, and I have to say, the day was even better because this Klein Mantra surpassed my expectations of this. See, this bike is 26 years old, and when Gary Klein originally designed this bike, he originally designed it for no front suspension, and they figured out that they'd have a hard time marketing this bike with no front suspension. So they did put a front suspension fork on this, but I didn't realize that whenever I started riding this bike, this 26-year-old front suspension fork, it's oil dampened. It's a Manitou SX fork, so it's got the TPC dampening, the twin piston control dampening, and it's actually a really good feeling fork when it's working. But I didn't realize that the oil was actually leaking out of the dampening system, and it was filling up the lower legs, completely and totally locking the suspension out in the front. I didn't notice that because it was so smooth. This bike, it's got 5.3 inches of travel in the back, which is very surprising, that it had no bob. Now, Klein came, they got around this by having the pivot point on this so high. So when you stood up, a lot of bikes, they'll end up kind of bobbing. This one doesn't bob. I mean, you stand up and it goes up those hills like a mountain goat, like a high performance hardtail bike. Now, of course, most of your suspension, you might have been getting about 5 inches of travel when you're sitting down, but whenever you're standing up, I think you're lucky to get 2 inches of travel. I was still feeling the suspension working, but it was a lot stiffer. But I didn't find that to be a bad thing. It really was a well-balanced bike, but when that suspension started going bad, I didn't notice it until I started going downhill. Now, that's one of the bad things I heard about this bike, was this bike completely and totally sucks, going downhill. And a lot of people were saying that it would buck you. This bike didn't feel like it wanted to buck me at all. Well, one thing, the dampening on the rear shock was working perfectly. If the dampening wasn't working, then yeah, that would have probably bucked me off like a mule. The other thing about this bike was I've shortened the stem. I put a much shorter stem on this and some riser bars on here because I did not like the original stem that stuck out about a mile, and I didn't like the flat bar. So this right here might have been my saving grace, because that moved my center of gravity a little bit further back, which may have helped on the downhill. Also, the fact that the fork was blown out and it wasn't compressing might have contributed to my safety, because whenever I was going downhill, that thing was just so rough because I wasn't getting any movement at all out of that front fork. Um, that's other than that. When this thing was on the flat or hill climbs, I have to give this thing a 9 out of 10. I'd like to say I'd give it a 10 out of 10, but I have a hard time giving anything a 10 out of 10 because it might have been perfect for me, but I just can't give anything a 10 out of 10. But I am looking forward to riding this bike again. I'm gonna go ahead and rebuild the fork because I've got some brand new seals, some new old stock seals for these old Manitou forks. Hopefully the seals are still good. They are very old, but they've always been kept in a closed container in a dark spot. So, well, guys, I really hope that you enjoyed the content for today, this Klein Mantra and the nice leisurely ride we did at Williamson Preserve in Clayton, North Carolina. That is a wonderful trail, and if you're in the area, you really should stop by. That is a great trail, and I hope that I'll see you there sometime. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to see more on this Klein Mantra, just be sure to leave the comments down below. And if you're actually in the area, stop by the shop, or stop by Williamson Preserve. That's in Clayton, North Carolina. It's one of the best trails around. You won't regret it. That is a great trail. If you want to see more on this Klein Mantra, be sure to leave that comment down below. With that being said, if you enjoyed this video, please leave me a big thumbs up. Don't forget to tell your friends. Check out some of the other videos on the corner of the screen. Don't forget to subscribe, and we will see you next time. Thanks.